Heather, do you think things get better with age?
I think we should probably ask Katie because she's known you longer.
Yeah, that's funny.
No.
But seriously, there's a belief out there that older bourbon that was distilled, say, 20, 30 years ago, aged 20, 30 years ago, that bourbon is actually better than the bourbon they're distilling and aging today. People actually chase dusty bottles. They call it dusty bottle chasing, believing that the taste is better or at least unique and different.
So you don't mean that it was aged differently. You mean that it was aged in a different decade or a different time.
That's exactly it. That the belief is out there that the ancient bourbon is better than the new bourbon.
Well, what do you think?
Well, thanks to a friend of the Tortured Bourbon family, now one of our family, we're going to find that out tonight.
Well, thank goodness, because I figured with your crazy ideas that we were about to build a time machine.
That's tomorrow night.
What's tomorrow night?
When we try to take over the world.
They're pinky and the brain.
So what's up, Heather?
Well, B, we have a guest tonight, and I'm so excited.
So, Aaron, welcome to Tortured Bourbon.
Thank you.
We're excited to have you, and we're excited to have all of you. If this is your first time, hit the like and subscribe button and join the Tortured Bourbon family.
So, Aaron, you and B go way back.
Yeah, so first off, thank you for having me on. I actually started bourbon hunting right in 2021 when the pandemic hit, like many other people did. And first of all, I'm a huge fan of bourbon, and I really like YouTube. So when I saw an acquaintance of mine was doing bourbon and YouTube at the same time, I was like, I had to reach out.
Oh, it was great. I was so excited that you did. And then you shared with me that you had some interesting bottles, so we've been talking about different things. You have something special for us here tonight.
Yeah, what did you bring?
Yeah, so I have a Dusty for us to try out. It's a vintage 1981 bottled Austin Nichols Wild Turkey 101 proof with an 8-year age statement. On top of that, well, it's been in the bottle, unopened and untouched for 43 years. It came in a little collectible decanter here. It's Series 2, number 3, I think, if you're looking to follow along at home. It's old, it's dusty, and it's ready to be drank.
Yeah. Well, where did you get it from?
I go to a lot of auctions, antique auctions,
okay,
around where I grew up from. And I was talking to one of the sellers there that was going to sell that night. And then next thing you know, he had a little box he pulled out. And I was like, what's in that box? And he opened it up, and it was that right there. And he's like, yeah, I have over 70 of them in a warehouse.
Wow.
And I think the previous owner collected all of them, and then someone inherited it and wanted to liquidate. And so he was out there trying to get rid of them. But this one particularly is one that he tried to open up the drink himself. And when he took the head off, the cork got stuck in there and it broke off. And so the cork was stuck in there, and he's like, I don't really want to deal with this.
If he couldn't get the cork out, how did you get the cork out?
So he didn't want to deal with it, and he's like, I'll sell it to you for $50. So I got it. I took it home.
Seems like a steal.
Yeah, I took it home, and I looked online. I was like, how do you open a cork-stuck bottle like that? Because I didn't want to take a hammer to it. And so
I'm glad you didn't.
I ended up finding out there's a trick you can do with toothpicks. You get 2 or 3 or 4 toothpicks, and you poke them around the edges of the cork.
Okay.
And you squeeze in and twist and pull out. And when you do that, if the cork doesn't fall apart from you poking it, the force of you squeezing it and pulling it out will cause it to come out. And so it came out. A little bit of cork was left in the liquid, so I just took a cheesecloth and I filtered it out.
Okay. Then what did you do with it? Because it's been sitting in there for 40 years.
I think what B's saying, you've now opened.
Yeah.
I feel like we're like opening Pharaoh's tomb here, and like the bad juju is going to come out. But so you've uncorked this thing that's been sitting there for 43 years. How did you get it out? What did you pour it into?
So
did you just turn this thing up and hope it all drained out?
No, I wanted it out of that decanter as fast as possible because I couldn't reseal it. So I'm like, I can't keep it in here. So I got a decanter for Christmas that my parents gave me, and I just poured it into that, and I just sealed it off.
Okay.
So I was like, I got to get this sealed and put somewhere else because I don't want it to get damaged just being in there without it being sealed.
And we understand you're going to let us try it tonight, which we feel very privileged. And we're going to stack it up against a Wild Turkey 101, a current one, and then a Wild Turkey 70th Anniversary Jimmy Russell edition, which B and I just procured recently.
What are your thoughts on Wild Turkey?
I love Wild Turkey. I think Wild Turkey 101 is some of the best decently priced juice you can get for the money. Wild Turkey 101 was a staple in all of my cocktails growing up in college, and I've loved it since. So when I saw this, I was like, well, we have the old and we have the new. We have to figure out what does it taste like? Does it taste any different? Has things changed over the years, you know?
I listened to a lot of the stuff where Eddie and Jimmy talk. Eddie Russell and Jimmy Russell. One of the things that Wild Turkey is very proud of is that they have one mash bill, and it's one mash bill for all their products, which to me is just amazing, because if you taste Russell's versus Long Branch versus Kentucky Spirit versus 101, they're different products. They all have their own unique taste. They claim that they've been using the same corn supplier, non-GMO corn supplier, for over 40 years. They claim they're using the same barrel supply company, and they do it to their specifications, and they argue that they're using the same still. But I got a feeling that you have hypothesis on this.
I've got a few things in mind that could probably change the taste over time. The first one is the fact that, the newer Wild Turkey 101, you buy it off the shelf, there's no age statement on that anymore. They say online it's like 6 to 8 years. This had an age statement. It said 8 years, and I think it was bottled in 81, so what is that, 73 that they started distilling it down? Back in 73, you also had nothing that was automated back then. Everything was all manually done, so it was more of an art, a craft. And so you had distillers that had to manually turn things on and off. At that time, they probably weren't mass producing like they were today. They were mass producing to an extent, but things have rapidly increased. Back in the 70s and 80s, Wild Turkey didn't have the portfolio of places they aged those barrels. So Camp Nelson, they didn't have that back then.
Yep.
So you've got to think about where it was aged as well, the humidity, the temperature, the atmospheric pressure, and all of that goes together in creating a story of what a bourbon will taste like eventually whenever it gets outside of the barrel. But most importantly, though, you have oxidation. And if you look at these bourbons, there's clearly a color difference. And that's because, over time, the oxygen in the air interacts with the alcohol and it changes the flavor. It makes it more sour. So oxidation can and will kill a bourbon if you're not careful. The way that I protected this one was you can actually buy like a stopper you put in a decanter to suck all the air out. And so I did that, and I was sucking all the air out. When I opened it to try it, put it away, I sucked all the air out, and I kept it in a dark location, a dark temperature controlled location, just to make sure that it wouldn't go bad, trying to extend the life as much as possible.
Spoken like a true engineer.
I was about to say,
this is an NC State trained engineer.
That's a whole lot of science, which is kind of cool because I feel like every time we talk bourbon, there's always a little bit of science. There's a little bit of science and a little bit of art. Yeah. Well, and you mentioned both of them.
Some more science. You can actually go and buy these kits where it'll pump inert air or inert gas into the bottle instead of you just close the amount of air you have in the neck, because you want as little air in there as possible. So you can get a smaller bottle, which reduces the amount of air you have. You can do inert gas pumping into it, so you replace the oxygen with something that won't interact with the alcohol over time. So there's other tricks you can do.
Or you could just go ahead and drink the whole bottle.
Or you could drink the whole thing, yeah.
So Jimmy Russell...
It's only set for 43 years, but B's going to drink it in one evening.
So no, that's not happening. But Jimmy Russell used to tell this. He tells this story, and I found this hilarious. Apparently, one of the changes to the bottle is the turkey's head now faces kind of this way, but the turkey head used to face... the front of the bottle. Mm-hmm. And he tells
the old story. Austin Nichols bottles.
Yeah. And he goes, now when that turkey starts blinking at you, you need to stop drinking. And the way he tells it, it's just funny, but it's a great story. So we're going to taste the 70th anniversary. We're going to taste regular 101 you can get off the shelf at any ABC store in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. And we're going to taste Aaron's special distilled Wild Turkey that was distilled before anyone was born in this room. Mm-hmm. So there's finally something in here older than me, and I'm really excited.
Bottled after you were born, though.
It was distilled. It was distilled before I was born. It was distilled. It was born before I was born.
It was.
And I'm excited about that.
Well, and I wanted to mention, too, before we get started, that Jimmy Russell himself does not think there should be a huge difference, if any, between the flavors of these. So...
But he is a spokesperson for his brand.
He is. And he's nothing if not loyal to his consistency.
After 70 years, yeah.
He has every right to be, absolutely.
The scientist in you, what do you think is going to happen here?
So I will say on paper, you have the 70-year anniversary one, which is 101 proof. It is age statement of 8 years. So, and it's a collectible, which means that I think they took certain ones that he liked the best from different locations and put them all together as one. So, I mean, you have very similar things happening with this old bottle here, where age statement's the same, proof is the same, and it was a collectible. So I think if you were to do a hypothesis, they probably taste very close to each other. Hopefully the 101, I mean, there's got to be some justification for the price as well. So hopefully there's a difference in tasting between the regular 101 and the fancy one.
Well, that one
The
says Jimmy Russell
justification
on
could
it.
say Jimmy.
That could be just a bottle.
That could be the justification.
He signed that, see? Started?
Wild Turkey is by far one of my favorite bourbons. I love Russell's Reserve. It has that spice profile that I'm looking for in bourbon. Like you said, in college, at some point, you think you've arrived when you can get a bottle of 101 to mix versus some other brands. It was above the bottom shelf.
Like
you know?
Burnett's.
And you could buy it in glass.
God.
You could buy it in glass. You know?
I was used to the twist top.
The twist top. Okay.
When I had I was like, oh my God, $9.
Now we've reached it. Yeah, we're high cotton. We're living in high cotton.
All right, so we want to start with the 101, right?
Let's start with the 101. We at least think we know what we're going to get there.
Thank you.
Yep, smells like 101.
It's not a super strong smell.
Nope, just a light corn.
So now Jimmy says he likes to smell it first with his mouth closed.
Yes.
And then smell it with his mouth open.
But for the price, you get good legs with Wild Turkey.
Yeah.
If you could put a memory in a bottle, it'd be this right here.
Yeah, I mean, it's
Don't we all have one of those?
It sticks on the bottle nice. You know what you're going to get.
So what smells do you get, Aaron?
Oh God, I get a little bit of cherry.
That's not one B and I smell a lot, but
I'm glad you're here. Yeah.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yep.
A little bit of that standard vanilla.
Yeah.
Maybe a little oak, a little corn. All right, we ready to taste?
There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there's nothing wrong with it.
To me, it's the optimal proof.
It sits right there.
Yeah. It doesn't burn your mouth.
Right.
But you're drinking bourbon.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what I like about it is that I can tell I'm drinking something, but it doesn't hurt. But it's got good flavor.
They don't tell you the percentage of rye, but there's definitely rye in there, and it's definitely it's a traditional mash bill.
I don't taste the cherry, so maybe it was just something that I just smelled that tasted like cherry, but or smelled like cherry.
I don't taste a fruit flavor either.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's not overly complex. And what I mean by that, you can go to Whiskey Kitchen or Hoppy Endings or some of these places, and you can get an extremely complex bourbon that I want to have one of, but I don't necessarily want to have 2 or 3 flavors. But I mean, I get, up front, it's sweet.
I get the traditional mash bill in the finish. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like I can taste that corn and that rye. It tastes like a classic bourbon.
There's a little nutty to me in there.
Mm-hmm.
There's a little nutty.
Not a lot, just a
little. Yeah, but
just
enough. Just enough. But I don't get butter.
I wouldn't describe it as sweet or buttery.
No. But I get just a little nutty. And what that could be that it has some oak to it. I mean, if it is a 6 to 8 year bourbon, it's get somewhere between 6 to 10 years is for me.
The sweet spot.
Yeah, when we start hitting that, I mean, a lot of people like the Baker's 13 and a few of these others. They're good, but you get a lot of oak.
But that 8 to 10 year is really where we start really loving it. And the price point matches the quality.
Yeah.
And then when we start getting up in, like B said, those 13 year, your price point starts getting out of whack with your quality of taste profile. And it's just, for me at least, and maybe I'm just not an advanced enough palate, it's just not worth it.
You want to do the 70? Let's do the 70 next.
I was saving his for last.
I think that's fair.
Okay.
Let's do the 70 next.
We are going back to 1954 when Jimmy Russell first started working at Wild Turkey. It's maybe a tad darker.
Yes. Yes.
Yes. It's a really rich amber color. I love the smell of this. And y'all might think I'm crazy, but it has a little bit of a sweeter smell to me.
This is definitely more sweet.
Yeah. That tastes different. It does not taste the same.
It's not the same,
No.
I don't know how to describe it, though, but it's...
I think I had to try a little bit more
Yeah.
for science.
Give me a second. That's a step above.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell it's a little older.
It's a little older and it's a better blend. I mean, it's just got a little better juice in it. It's a little bit more of the buttery that we talk about.
Yes.
Yep.
It eases in. The flavor eases in from the beginning. You don't all of a sudden get it, and then it eases in.
Yeah. I'm a big fan.
101's a little more up front. All right. It has more lingering oak.
Yes.
Yes.
I got that on the second hit. If you let it sit there a little bit, a little more nutty, a little more oaky, at least I do.
I definitely get more oak at the end now that you say that.
Finish goes a little longer for me.
Overall, this feels like a step up, like you said.
See, I'm still,
You still chewing?
it's there.
Yeah, it's
there.
still lingering. Yeah.
There's something there. Why are they only going to make so many of these? Come on now. I mean,
I'm impressed. I really am impressed.
Look on the legs on that bad
Yeah.
boy.
I thought it was going to just be 101.
No.
I really thought it was going to be Wild Turkey 101.
It's definitely a step.
And it's not.
You can
It's
tell
not.
it's very similar. You can tell it's very similar.
It's similar.
But the age, the butteriness, it's a little different, and
like
I like it.
It's
a
Jimmy Russell.
pleasant-
It's Jimmy Russell's favorite juices. Like
Yeah.
it's going to be a step above.
There it is. It's just still there.
I can tell how happy you are right now because
Oh,
you
it's
love
fantastic.
101, and so I know
Oh,
you're just
yeah.
giddy right
Well,
now.
I mean, but 101 is, it's just, I know what I'm going to get.
Right.
I know what I'm going to get, and I can drink it like that. I can put it in a Coke. I can put it in an old fashioned.
So I want to
But
quickly go back to
this
what
isn't
you
going
were
in a Coke.
saying a minute ago about the finish, because like you said, the more I've sat here
Mm-hmm.
and let it marinate, it's a really good finish. And
See,
like
I'm
you said,
getting-
I keep getting the taste.
I'm
of
getting
it.
a pecan. And maybe I'm just waxing poetic about the South.
I get it's the nutty taste. I completely get that as well. But yeah, I would happily
And
go
it's
sit on
drying.
a farm.
It's drying a little bit. We're really describing this one. We like this.
We would clearly.
All right.
Right now,
This is exciting.
the old Dusty. All right, I'll go front.
Don't let me down. Don't let me down, Dusty.
That is such a southern name, Dusty.
Yeah, you can definitely smell the dust on it, I think. You can tell it's been sitting.
Let's describe that. To me, it doesn't taste like it's been aged longer. It smells older.
Yes.
That's what I'm trying to
It's
say.
definitely had oxidation to it.
Yeah,
and you
it-
can tell from the color as well.
Absolutely.
It is a little darker than
Yeah,
the
I'm not
other.
saying it tastes like a 13 or 15-year-old. I'm saying that
It's sitting. It's been sitting.
it's been sitting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, now that you've taught me about oxidation, I'm going to surmise that's what's going on here.
So I would expect it to be slightly more sour just because
Okay.
of the age of it.
All right. It is a little darker.
It is darker than 101. It is darker than modern 101. Mm-hmm. It's got a little more red tint to it. This has a little more gold tint.
It's not quite as leggy as the 70-year. I taste the age.
Yeah.
It's not bad.
Oh, I didn't mean it that way, but I taste the age. Okay, so like y'all are gonna think I'm crazy. You know how you go to like the basement of your grandma's house?
Yes.
And
Musty.
it has a certain musty smell.
Little musty.
And you can almost taste the musty.
Yep.
It's not necessarily bad,
It's,
but it's there.
Yep.
And that's what I'm getting.
Wet
in the smell and
leaves.
taste. Yes. Yes,
wet leaves.
Exactly.
Now, it hit me up in my teeth.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
A little up in those, somewhere right in here. I could, whoop, there it is.
you can definitely tell when it's definitely not an ease into it thing.
No.
It's like a,
Oh, here you are. Yeah.
I got the graphs coming up, you know?
Well, I feel like it like punched me in the front,
Yeah.
and then it's as it goes backwards is when it's in the back of my mouth that I taste the musty
Mm-hmm.
a little bit. Again, not meaning bad, just you taste the age. Probably a little mold from whatever
Yeah.
warehouse. Yeah,
It's sad many hurricanes hit that warehouse,
Yeah.
you know?
it's fine.
This,
The alcohol
was
killed
down
it.
in Johnston County?
Yeah.
Was this in the lowland?
Uh-huh.
Some water might have hit this.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
That sir is that
for
black
those of
mold.
you, who are not familiar with the Joco, there's a part of Joco that is basically under sea
Swamp.
level, and when it rains, it pours, baby. You can go for a swim in the road. There's some lowlands in Johnston County.
Well, sweet little wild turkey here might have gone for a
Yeah.
swim. It is not bad, but
It's
I
not
taste the
drinkable.
age. No,
It is no.
No.
I've paid for worse.
Really?
Oh yeah, I've paid for worse.
But
than
I
this.
think I would have if we had done a blind taste testing, I would
You
have
could have
easily
picked it out,
identified
yeah.
which one
Just
it
on
was.
the
That's why when you were like, should we do a blind? I was like, you're going to be able to tell.
Yeah.
No,
I mean,
but
in all fairness, we just tasted against this, and I think we were
Yeah.
both blown away with
But
this.
it's also just fascinating to me that you can taste it.
Yeah.
Like I'm fascinated right now, especially since you taught me why with the science behind it.
I wonder what the proof's done over time.
I guess what you're speaking to. Okay, you're the engineer.
Well,
we know I'm not.
evaporation would
Yeah.
make it
Yeah.
more. It would make it stronger.
Okay.
Because the
Definitely
water's going to be
increase the
what?
proof.
Proof, yeah.
But when you have oxidation interacting with the alcohol, it could change things.
Okay. Fair.
Okay, so it's the water that's going to evaporate out, which is why it's going to get stronger, right?
Well, I don't know where it could go because it's sealed in the bottle.
We established it
maybe-
wasn't that well sealed when you busted into it. So.
Well, he couldn't get it out.
Here is something that's interesting. You think about the history of bourbon and what it went through. So this was in 81.
Yeah.
So bourbon is facing, at that time, it's starting to hit their crisis phase. Wild Turkey is going out and getting porcelain statue to pour a $15 juice in. Times are different. They can sell the stuff now in a shoe.
Yeah, they can put it in plastic.
Yeah,
they get $150.
With a twist top.
I mean,
door.
but they were marketing then to 55, 60-year-old men, where now they have Matthew McConaughey. So, I mean, they've really changed their whole marketing strategy.
Of
They're
course.
trying to hit
Well, and
35-year-olds, and they're trying. And I don't see a 25-year-old female going into an ABC store and going, "I've got to have this."
Well, and that's what
right?
I think is so interesting that you bring that up. All of that up is that Wild Turkey has been a trendsetter in the bourbon world without even meaning to, which is such an interesting juxtaposition when you've got the longest serving master distiller ever, who has actually been a trendsetter. I mean, they, like you said, they came out and then other people started coming out with the ornate bottles. You know, like you said, they were marketed toward the guys who got off work, they took their deck of playing cards, they took their fancy bottle to impress their friends, and they got together and they drank and they played cards. Women weren't going into ABC stores.
No, not certainly not to get
And
bourbon.
then you saw in the late 80s, early 90s, you saw the rise of, I mean, for lack of a better term, the 9-to-5 female working in the workplace. Suddenly she starts going to the ABC store. Here comes Wild Turkey with adding honey.
Yep.
And they do one of the first bourbon liqueurs in the 90s. Yeah.
You know what I'm going to do?
You're going to mix them.
I got to see what old and new tastes like
All
together.
right, well, okay, do it. Do
I
it.
got to see it. I was
He's like, enough of the history lesson.
The scientist over here
I
wants
was like,
to
I'm over here concocting
Yeah.
something.
You can tell I went to the liberal arts university.
Smell that.
That changed it.
Did you mix this one with this one?
No, not
He's-
the, this is just the 70 and the old.
I mean, it changed the smell completely.
Yeah.
Go for it.
You get a little bit, like, best of both worlds, you know?
Hit it.
You brought it. You can mix it whatever you want to mix it with.
Okay, the graph has changed. It's no longer, it's,
All right. Well, now you gotta make me. I mean, you made
now-
me do
now-
it.
I think y'all are going to have to try it. Yeah,
All
this
right,
is,
Master Blender Aaron.
Oh, God.
You're right. It
changes
did.
it.
It did change it.
the graph has changed.
The graph changed. I mean, it. Daggone.
You know, you might have stumbled onto something.
Yeah.
Take a little
I'm
101.
going to
and
change
some-
my name to Aaron Russell.
That's right. Give him a call. Jimmy, you've got a new apprentice.
You.
I'm
moved
sure
to
he's
Kentucky.
watching this channel.
I'm sure
There's
he is.
no doubt that we're influencing those at Wild Turkey. I'm
You'd
sure.
move to Kentucky for that, wouldn't you? So I think we've all established that you are welcome to hunt down Dusty's and bring them on the show
Anytime. Anything
Anytime.
you find
We'll buy the
interesting.
modern versions and we'll do
taste
this
Oh,
all
look,
day.
if I could have bought that entire warehouse full, if he would have offered it to me, $50
We would have
a piece.
We
heck
would have
yeah.
found a way. So this is going to be either. It's going to start at either That Dog Will Hunt, Hush Your Mouth, or Cock of the Walk. So.
And this
I'm-
is to clarify out there, this is the 70th
This
anniversary.
is the 70th
edition.
anniversary. This is the one that we all apparently liked the best. From what I gather,
kidding.
where we'll let our guests rank first. Where do you put that?
I would say it. Hush your mouth, but I wouldn't want any. Like I'd put it on the table, and I would want to watch who's going to go there because it's like an in between.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
We like where your head's
Yeah,
at.
I
We like where
agree.
your head's at.
Yeah, it almost goes to Cock of the Walk to me because I know that I'm with you because I don't know how often I'm going to be able to get it.
Yeah.
So the rarity
So
makes
if
yeah.
it was something that we knew that we could, even if we had to procure it, then but I can go with Hush Your Mouth.
Well, and this would be one. So yes, I agree. It's a Hush Your Mouth. I do think the rarity of it and the fact that the price point though is still incredibly reasonable. We got picked that up for what, $50?
Oh yeah.
It was incredibly
50?
reasonable. Yeah,
50.
50.
Wow.
It's a definite Hush Your Mouth for me. Coke.
We've got tried and true Wild Turkey 101 available just about everywhere they sell. I would assume everywhere they sell alcohol in the great United States and elsewhere as well, being they're internationally shipped. So where are we going to put 101?
I mean, the dog will definitely hunt, but
hunts.
like, it is cheap. It is easy to get, and it speaks on its quality because it's cheap and easy to get. You can get it anywhere. There's nothing really special about it except for the fact that it tastes really good for the price. And so, to me, it'll hunt any day.
Yeah.
It's a dog will hunt. Absolutely.
In the world of bourbon right now, there's hype and then there's deserved hype. The fact that you can find it and it's as good as it is, I want it. I'm with you. That dog will hunt. There are some bourbons that are allocated that really cost about the same, but they're allocated. That I don't know that they're any better.
I agree with that.
But there's a mystique to being able to find it in a state like North Carolina.
And typically that does artificially inflate
And
the rate.
Absolutely.
Now, and I'm not saying that other bourbon that we're talking about or some of those other bourbons aren't good. I'm just saying that you can go in and you can get it. If you can get it in plastic, you can get it in glass. So you can fancy it up or you can take it to a tailgate.
No one's going to look at that and be like, seriously, you brought that?
A bourbon
Very
drinker's
versatile.
Yeah, a bourbon drinker's not going to turn down 101.
I think the definition of hype right now is Buffalo Trace. I do like it. I kind of hate that I like it because I kind of want to hate it because of the hype.
But is it good?
But that's always my question. Like, do you think it's worth the hype?
I think it is, but not if you were to pay what
So
secondary is.
that's exactly my thought. Is if it is totally worth it for what I buy
MSRP,
it for.
absolutely.
But if it starts driving up the price to your 75, 8, maybe not. So is that where you land with it?
Yeah, that's where I land. Unless I need a hole to fill on my counter to make it look pretty.
Yeah.
I get
I
that.
don't want to pay that much for it,
If I walk into a store and they got a bottle, buy a bottle.
And it's basically becoming a status symbol as well. Like,
Yeah,
oh my God, they have that.
there, and when you got some friends who come over who have, it's really good if they've never had it.
Absolutely.
You can say, hey man, let's try it. Really, yeah.
Right.
So that leaves us with the aged bird.
This one's going to be hard to rate. Because honestly,
I agree.
Honestly, it does not taste that good.
Fair.
Like, it tastes good, but it doesn't, like, it, to me, 70-year-old, or whatever that is, the 70-year-old one.
Yeah.
That
The
one's the
70th
best
anniversary.
out of the
It's
three.
not 70 years old.
No.
70th anniversary. Yeah.
70th anniversary, that one's the best out of the three.
Absolutely.
There's no
Top
doubt.
tier.
100%.
This one has a lot of similarities with your normal 101, except it's got the grandma taste to it.
Except it hung out in your grandma's basement
out in
for
your grandma's
43
basement.
years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sound like you're trying to say bless its heart.
I can't
But
do it.
no.
Though. I can't do
Because
it.
it came in that really
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
thing and it's 100 years
Yeah,
old.
I can't do
Right.
it. So I don't know where to put it.
I feel like, first of all, I think it exists outside of our modern day rating scale.
Yeah.
Because it comes from before all of us.
Thanks. So
Number
it's an
two-
antique.
It's an antique.
It's an
and
antique,
so you can't apply the modern day rating scale, number one. It's unfair because it had to hang out in that thing in Johnston County for 40 some years.
And you cannot escape oxidation to a
No.
point.
You can.
And for as long as it hung out, it was not that
That's
bad.
impressive.
Not that bad's not even correct. It was not bad.
Yeah.
It's just that you could taste some age.
So
And
it's a
not age.
It's a non-ranker, but it's one of those things that if you get your hands on, you need to try it.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely.
So that's the key to this,
And
right?
for
This
$50, there's no way I'm turning that
no.
down.
Oh, good
I would have paid people that. 100%.
Oh yeah, I mean,
That is such a conversation starter.
Yes,
It's
absolutely.
It's that community that you bust that out with a group of friends. And, I mean, we've been talking for an hour, and I feel like we've been here 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So
I wonder what would happen if you took 3 or 4 of them, and like you have a Wild Turkey Dusty, you have another Dusty of a different brand, and you try them out and see, is it age? Is it just that this was improperly stored? I don't know, but it's not to the point where it's undrinkable. A lot of them from the 30s and the 20s, if you were to buy them and you open them up, you're basically raffling on it. You don't have a clue. You're gambling.
Yeah, and you're paying a lot of money for
You're
to
paying
gamble.
a lot of money to gamble. You pop that cork and it could be absolutely sour in a drain pour. And it spent all those years in a bottle just to go nowhere. And so this right here is drinkable. It's a definite conversation starter.
Absolutely.
I don't know how to rank it. I just don't.
Well, it's not. It's an antique.
I think what we do is we rank it for the conversation and for the community that it creates. And for that, we are grateful.
Yeah.
So,
I'm for that.
and we are grateful that it didn't go sour. So, Aaron, we always end our show with a little bit of trivia.
Yep.
So we're going to head on over to our producer, Ryan.
Well, hello. Thanks for stopping by, Aaron. Okay, so for first, the true-false question. The name Wild Turkey, true or false, the name Wild Turkey originated in the 1940s when a distillery worker at Austin Nichols noticed that wild turkeys would frequently gather near the aging barrels.
I thought the story was that one of the guys took it out to his camping trip.
That is the story. I read that today.
Yeah.
False.
Yeah, it's false. Yeah. It was a 1940. It was the 1940s though.
Yeah.
It was a hunting
It was a
trip.
hunting trip. Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
and
been out with his buddies.
and they apparently asked for that wild turkey bourbon the next time they went, so that name stuck. All right, general trivia. Which of the following TV shows has wild turkey been featured in? You can see it in a scene, or you can see it at some point in the show. Hopefully, I think this one might stump you, but we'll see. Sons of Anarchy is the first option. The Sopranos is the second option,
God.
and The Wire is the third option.
All of those are very plausible. Tony was not a wild turkey drinker, so and The Sopranos.
I have not seen any of those.
Well, you're 12, so
I am 12. I'm a little young. Y'all are skewing your questions toward the older people.
You just got called old.
I know how I make
Aaron,
you feel.
come back to the show any day. Any day. You can come to every showing. You can just come and sit right there. He has a permanent spot behind the barrel.
God, I appreciate it.
I'm usually making all jokes.
Let's go. You know, Sons of Anarchy. It's in a bar. There's a biker gang.
My instinct was Sons, because it just felt appropriate.
I mean, he's probably trying to stump us, and it's The Wire. But let's go with Sons of Anarchy.
Let's go with Sons of Anarchy.
It's actually The Sopranos.
I was gonna say, was it in the
I was
bottom?
gonna
Was
say
it in the
that
bottom?
one.
Was it in the
Well,
bottom?
I
we
was
should
gonna
have
say
gone
that
with
one.
Aaron.
It was in. It
In
was
the
when they were.
Bada
It was when they were at the strip club.
Oh.
Yeah.
Bada bing.
All right, last one.
Fantastic.
Which professional sports league has Wild Turkey not partnered with for promotions? The NFL, NASCAR, or the PGA Tour?
Well, NASCAR's got to be a good fit.
Yeah. I feel like NFL.
You know, I kind of feel like you're right.
It's
NFL's
gut
not super
telling me
southern.
feeling. It's like gut feeling right
If it's not,
It's got to be NASCAR.
I mean, they've
Gotta
got
be.
if they haven't partnered with NASCAR, then I don't
Yeah.
know.
Jimmy,
Our-
what are you doing?
Our existence has just been brought into question.
I will tell you, they have absolutely partnered with NASCAR.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So let's go with the NFL.
Yeah.
It's actually the PGA Tour.
Really?
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
they ran a spot in the Super Bowl. Wild Turkey did a couple years ago. With it was to like celebrate on field performance or something like that.
okay.
But yeah, the only connection to the PGA Tour that Wild Turkey has is that John Daly loves Wild Turkey.
I
So,
was going to get
yeah.
John
Yeah.
Daly.
Yes.
John Daly just likes
Yes,
whiskey.
he does.
He
He
likes
does.
alcohol.
Anyway, but
Do you know
that's
who John Daly is?
okay. All
moving
right.
on.
Well, that's my time.
This has been super fun.
This has been a blast.
You're welcome back anytime. And we always finish, grab a glass.
That's right. So we say cheers, y'all.
Cheers y'all.